Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Oke, teman-teman, saya izin untuk menggunakan bahasa Inggris dan juga bahasa Indonesia untuk sesi panel diskusi yang keempat hari ini. Boleh minta aplausnya dulu dong, teman-teman. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kelly Socialista and I am very honored to be your moderator for today's panel session number 4, the future of creative entrepreneurship. So before we begin, please note that this session will be delivered in English. Any materials that is delivered in Indonesian will be translated to English afterwards. Today's session highlights the importance of empowering local brands and also international collaborations and also international opportunities. Jadi ini akan amat sangat menyenangkan sesi kita di panel session yang keempat ini, teman-teman. Ada banyak sekali opportunities atau kesempatan yang nanti teman-teman dari seluruh kota dan juga kabupaten di Indonesia, seluruh komunitas kreatif dapat bekerja sama di dalam mendapatkan kesempatan-kesempatan kolaborasi secara internasional. Okay, without further ado, let's welcome our speakers. May I invite our speakers to please join me on stage. Our first speaker is Mr. Faisal Isnayani, SME Business Division Head of BNI, Bank Negara Indonesia. Mr. Faisal focuses on supporting SME growth and helping the creative industry reach global markets. Welcome, Mr. Faisal. Next we have Mr. Vincent Padare, Director of Institute Francais Indonesia, IPI Surabaya. Mr. Padare focuses on cultural diplomacy and Indonesia-France collaboration in the creative industry. Welcome, Mr. Vincent. Then we'll welcome Ms. Levina Wirawan, Head of Arts British Council Indonesia. Ms. Levina focuses on creative collaborations across multiple creative economy subsectors, ASEAN UK initiatives, and artist-led responses to climate and technology challenges. Welcome, Ms. Levina. Finally, we have Ms. Indah Dian Novita, Head of Corporate Communication at J99, J1994. Ms. Indah leads public relations, stakeholder engagement, and corporate communication to support J99 Forbes growth and collaboration with creative communities. Welcome, Ms. Indah. Please give them a warm round of applause. Okay, welcome, Ms. and Mr. So happy to be here. And today we will explore how local brands, banking industry, and also the international foundations here will support the creative communities in Indonesia and also the creative economy. Let's begin with our first speaker, Mr. Faisal Isnayani from BNI, Bank Negara Indonesia, who will share insights on the banking world. The floor is yours, Mr. Faisal.
Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yang kami hormati Pak Menhan, Pak Menhan, Pak Aris Ismail, Pak Budi Satari, kemudian Bapak Ibu semua pelaku ekonomi kreatif dan teman-teman panel yang kami hormati. BNI hadir di Jawa Timur di Indonesia bukan hanya sebagai lembaga keuangan, tapi kami juga hadir sebagai enablers yang mendukung pertumbuhan perekonomian Indonesia, khususnya melalui UMKM dan ekonomi kreatif. Di Jawa Timur, mungkin di slide di sini, kami punya 280 objek potensial. Di situ Bapak Ibu yang ada di Jawa Timur ini bisa mendapatkan literasi keuangan, financial solution maupun penanganan. Ini tersebar di Jawa Timur pada semua. Selain itu juga kita punya channel digital. Di sini ada lebih dari 36.000 agenda kami yang bisa memberikan pendampingan untuk literasi dan solusi keuangan. Selain itu juga kami dianggap punya founder sebuah apps, super apps untuk perorangan dan direct rekan sekalian. Khusus di Jawa Timur, mungkin di selanjutnya, kami mensupport lebih dari 1.600 indikator di slide. Mungkin izin saya berdiri, izin Pak Wamennya. Di sini ada 1.600 pengusaha kreatif di Jawa Timur sudah kami support. Salah satu bisnisnya yang ada di wilayah ini, kami melakukan financing maupun pendampingan di KLP Singosari. Salah satunya ada sebuah perusahaan animasi yang join dengan BNI Explora sudah tersambung ke marketnya. Kemudian kami juga membangun ekosistem ekonomi kreatif itu secara cashless melalui Wonder by BNI, BNI Direct dan PADIS. Tujuannya untuk membantu ekonomi kreatif manage their sales, manage their payment, and manage their seamlessly. Dan it is truly cashless ekonomi kreatif. Mungkin di next slide-nya ada program kami namakan Explora. BNI Explora is our program, one-stop solution export and digitalization platform for SME and creative entrepreneurs. Di BNI Explora itu ada fase pertama, fase inisiasi, di mana kawan-kawan di ekonomi kreatif itu kita lakukan pendampingan. Dan kita juga di sini ada kolaborasi untuk peningkatan kapasitas. Dan kami kolaborasinya dengan kementerian-kementerian, kemudian juga di sini Bapak Ibu semua kita dengan Bank Indonesia, sehingga kapabilitas operasional, kapabilitas mungkin terkait packagingnya dan kapabilitas terkait keuangannya bisa meningkat. Fase berikutnya juga di tahap ini kami bisa lakukan financing juga Bapak Ibu semua. Mungkin financingnya dengan BNI Full dan BNI Wirausaha. Fase berikutnya setelah inisiasi kita lanjutkan ke fase akselerasi. Jadi fase ini kita lakukan digitalisasi terhadap teman-teman UMKM maupun ekonomi kreatif Bapak Ibu semua. Nah, ini kita kerjasama dengan sebelah kanan ada pasar online, Shopee dan Padawai. Kemudian literasi keuangan juga kami tingkatkan sehingga dilakukan digitalisasi terhadap transaksi dan efisiensinya makin meningkat. Fase berikutnya adalah fase step up. Kami lakukan dengan bisnis kunci dan bisnis matching. Kami punya 7 Explora Hub Indonesia yang paling dekat Surabaya, Bali, Makassar, dan kami punya 9 akun luar negeri, mulai dari Singapura, kemudian Tokyo, Hong Kong, Korea, lalu di Eropa, Israel. We also have overseas branches in Europe, London, and Amsterdam. Kemudian di New York dan di Sydney. Di situ kami lakukan pitching dulu terhadap kawan-kawan UMKM ini, dan kami secara directly connect lokal kreatif enterprise, connect with buyer global. Kemudian juga kami lakukan service semua. Jadi contoh barang, produk-produk kalau ini bisa kami bawakan, bisa digunakan di 9 pelayanan tersebut. Harapannya kita lakukan scale up itu step by step, mulai dari mungkin produk dulu di situ sampai produk SMP, bahkan mampu juga financing untuk trade dan ekspor. Oke, seperti itu pembukanya ya. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Faisal. Allow me to share a brief summary of your presentation for the audience. So BNI plays significant role in accelerating Indonesia's creative economy by supporting both technological advancement and the growth of creative communities. So in East Java alone, BNI has supported more than 11,000 and 1,600 creative entrepreneurs across sectors. So, such as the culinary, craft, fashion, film, animation, and design. And this is one of the most exciting information that we have today, that BNI also prepares the local brand here through Explora. Explora actually stands for Export and Diaspora. So here is a one-stop platform that helps MSMEs to go from capability building here, go productive, to digitalization, until finally go international expansion through Go Global. So here, by the connection with the Explora hubs and also the international connections of BNI, it is sure to be happen. So this strategy combination here, financing, digital acceleration, and also global market access here helps the local brands scale sustainably, and not only nationwide but also have the international exposure. Thank you, Mr. Vincent. Okay, so thank you, Mr. Faisal. Sorry. Okay, thank you, Mr. Faisal. I'm sorry. Okay. Next we invite Ms. Indah Dian Novita, Head of Corporate Communication at J99 Corp, to present the strategic perspective as one of Malang's most successful local brand. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Mbak Kay. Actually, this is not the proper presentation to deliver and to introduce our corporate, but maybe I can explore a little bit with our company, with our corporate. So we to stand a little bit ya Pak, permisi ya Pak. Hai teman-teman semuanya, apa kabar? Bapak Ibu, Bapak, selamat sore semuanya, Assalamualaikum. So because the moderator deliver the message in English, so I'll be mix English in bahasa ya Mbak. So salam kenal semuanya, saya Indah, J99 Corp or J99, but we prefer to pronounce it in Indonesia ya Mbak. J99 teman-teman, Bapak Ibu, saya harap sih sudah ada setidaknya yang tahu atau yang kenal ya. Kami adalah perusahaan lokal based in Malang, so we are originally from Malang, but we already have a headquarters in Jakarta. J99 actually Pak is stand for Juragan 99. So our founder is Pak Gilang Widya Pramana, originally from Malang here. He's a local businessman, originally from Malang, together alongside with Miss Sandy Purnamasari, her wife. So actually we are a holding company and our root is diversity industries. As you can see in the next slide maybe, kami memiliki success story tapi juga bisa dibilang kami masih muda. Perusahaan kami belum ada 10 tahun bahkan, so is still young, masih muda sekali, tapi sudah ada success story di mana kalau misalnya dari panitia mengatakan bahwa kami bisa jadi contoh how the local company or local business can go to the national scale Bapak. So what is behind the success story? Actually for us the most important thing is communication. So communication yang kami terapkan di dalam our corporate is our DNA, and our DNA is the champion itself. So champion is stand for collaborative, and then honesty, accountability, motivated, passionate, innovative, optimistic, and also nurture. That is our DNA, that is our corporate value, our core value that leads us into the diversity of our unit businesses, from skincare, from beauty industry to transportation, through beauty to beauty clinic, and also to the water that you are now see on your table. You see the G water, maybe we can angkat the G water. This is also, thank you Pak, terima kasih. This is also one of our unit business in J99 Bapak Ibu and also teman-teman semuanya. So the corporate value champion, this is our DNA. But if you ask us what is the story or what is the strategy behind this, our success story, maybe we can share you this kind of four big strategy. Number one is diversification and also innovation, quality products and services, where every day we ensure that we deliver the best and the great quality of our products and our services. And also the strategic branding. We are young, but we believe and we are very confident that young people can make a difference. That's why we are trying so hard to make our products and services to get to know to people here, not only in Malang or East Java, but also in the world, in Indonesia, in the world, in global, can get to know our products, aware about our products, and aware how Indonesia is really potential to bring the positive impact on our economy, especially creative economy. And also, last but not least, is local empowerment. Most of our employees, Mbak En and Bapak Ibu sekalian, is local people, young talent from Malang. We can see right there, my friend from Dismas Milan. Hi, teman-teman. That is one of our young talents. Originally, they are from Malang, and they are very passionate to deliver and also to build the story itself about our company and our products and services. Next, maybe this is like our last slide. Mbak Ken earlier asked me how the company, the J994, contribute to the creative economy system. Maybe if you know the MS Glow, our skincare product, or G-Water, or maybe Juragan 99 Trans, we are not directly involved to the creative industry itself. If you see like sekilas gitu ya Pak, but we can collaborate, we can work together to make the powerful impact to our creative economy ecosystem here, not only in East Java, but also in Indonesia. Day by day, we are empowering our local talent. We are promoting our culture, Indonesian culture. For instance, we have our beauty clinic, MS Glow Aesthetic Clinic. We have here in Malang, so if you, bapak-bapak and ibu-ibu, and you guys want to, make your face more glowing, you can try to go to our clinic. In our clinic, we support the petani akar wangi, originally from Garut, Jawa Barat, West Java. If you know, the akar wangi is the ingredients, the main ingredients for the essential oil or minyak atsiri, and they produce waste or limbah. And the waste itself, the akar, the root, they produce it into the handicraft, into the merchandise, and etc. And our clinic use the merchandise from akar wangi to be delivered to our loyal customer. That is just one simple example how we collaborate with the local SME. And also collaboration and advocating the creative economy. We also sometimes have this kind of talk show with young people from the campus or maybe school, and also local company in Jakarta and also in East Java. I think that's it. Maybe I still have one more slide, but it's the key takeaways. The last slide, please. The key takeaways from J994 is back to our fourth strategy. It's about diversity, how we innovate every day by day, how innovation is in our blood, and then how we make sure that our brands and our products, our services is get to know acknowledged by people, by our target market. And also, last but not least, is to empowering our local talent, our local talent, or local young talent in East Java and in Indonesia. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, Miss Indah. Thank you, Miss Indah. Next, we will hear from Miss Levina Wirawan from the British Council, who will share ASEAN UK advancing creative economy and also future collaboration opportunities. Please proceed, please.
Thank you. I think I'm inspired by the other speakers, so I'll be setting up as well. Hello everyone. Salam kenal semuanya, selamat sore rekan-rekan di sektor ekraf, and hello colleagues and esteemed guests from the British economy sector. My name is Levina Wirawan. I'm the head of arts program for the British Council in Indonesia. In case you are not yet familiar with the British Council, it is the international organizations from the UK. It is focus on cultural exchange and educational opportunities. And under the Krishna 3 programs, education, English and arts, and British economy. And today I'll be sharing about some of our offers with the arts and British. And just a little bit more about our Cultural Professionals Connect. We do have a program called Connections and open new opportunities in order to have creative collaboration locally, globally, and also internationally. So let's invite our speakers today. First, we have Dr. Muhammad Yopan from Amazon Web Services. Please welcome him. Dr. Yopan serves as government account lead at Amazon Web Services, bringing over 19 years of experience in the IT industry. Thank you, and have a seat. All right, and our second speaker, we have Dr. Vinita Larasati for Technica. Hello. So, Technica is from ICCA Expo and also ICCN. Vanita is also a lecturer at Institut Teknologi Bandung, ITB, and she is an industrial designer and also a cartoonist herself. Jadi bawa buku biasanya menggambar apapun yang dilihat. Jadi hati-hati nanti kita mungkin akan masuk dalam koleksi kartun beliau ya. Alright, so we also have someone from the Philippines and he is online right now. We have the founder and president of the Creative Economy Council of the Philippines, Mr. Paulo Mercado. Are you online, Paulo? Can you hear me? Okay, so he's probably going to be joining us later, and we will have a discussion with our two experts here. And as I have mentioned before, we'll be talking about creative collaboration in the AI era. So there are a lot of things going on. We have creative economy, and then we have technology, and then AI, and everything. So it's a very interesting side. Yeah? So we'll be talking with them. We'll be asking a lot of questions. Dan kita akan mencoba untuk memakai dua bahasa ya. So we can use English and Indonesian as you like. And we'll be starting with Pak Yopan. So as someone working closely with technology and innovation, how do you see the role of artificial intelligence in driving innovation and sustainability within the creative economy? Jadi bagaimana peran AI dalam mendorong inovasi sebetulnya? Kalau dari kacamata Bapak sebagai seseorang yang sudah 19 tahun berada di dunia IT begitu dan sekarang menjadi salah satu pimpinan di LBS. Silakan Bapak.
Ya, terima kasih banyak Mbak Renzi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sesi terakhir ya, jadi ini berharap tunggu semuanya dan masih banyak nih 2.345 orang saya di sini.
Wow, luar biasa.
Banyak banget ya.
Tepuk tangan dong untuk kita semua. Semangat dari pagi sampai
Semangat
sore.
dari pagi sampai sore. Iya, terima kasih banyak semuanya. Berbicara tentang AI, ini AI saya sih pakai bahasa Indonesia ya, karena saya lihat ini mostly Indonesia. Jadi AI itu sekarang menakutkan satu sisi, tapi jangan khawatir. Kalau seandainya kita melihat sebuah teknologi itu pasti ada dua sisi, positif dan juga negatifnya. Jangan cuma sekedar melihat dari sisi negatifnya. Banyak hal positif yang bisa kita lakukan. Saya langsung masuk ke industri kreatif kan sekarang kita ada di sini ya. Ada yang pernah Bapak Ibu anaknya atau mungkin pakai Roblox di sini? Main Roblox ada nggak Roblox? Ada ya?
Ada, banyak. Anak saya juga.
Anak juga ya? Oke. Ada yang pernah presentasi pakai PPT? Ada. Sekarang pakai Canva ada nggak? Ada ya. Dan ternyata industri kreatif itu sangat memungkinkan untuk di running di dalam cloud. By the way, itu runningnya di cloudnya AWS. Jadi Canva memudahkan kita untuk merunning sebuah presentasi dengan saling kolaboratif segala macamnya. AI itu lebih advance lagi. Jadi kita tuh ngomong tentang cloud ya. AI lebih advance lagi. Bayangkan kalau seandainya di sini teman-teman ada yang suka bikin batik, membuat pola segala macam, kartun segala macam ya. Mungkin dalam waktu 1 minggu cuma bisa bikin 1 pola batik saja. Dengan AI-nya dimasukin data tentang hasil-hasil batik kita, terus dia akan memahami, oh ini karakter Anda. Terus saya bilang ke AI, tolong buatkan sebuah desain batik yang seperti ini, sesuai dengan karakter saya. Keluarlah itu pattern baru. Pattern baru itu kan kita harus juga validasi ya, nggak selalu terusnya terus AI aja. Kita bisa validasi. Bayangkan kalau saya dulu cuma 1 mode dalam 1 minggu, sekarang 1 minggu bisa jadi 10 mode, kan produktif. Artinya AI jangan dianggap sisi negatifnya aja, tapi manfaatkan dia sebagai pendamping kita, sebagai alat untuk produktivitas. Ini yang pertama. Yang kedua, untuk efisiensi. Bayangkan mahasiswa yang belum punya modal misalnya, running bisnis itu berat sekali. Teknologi juga mahal sekali. Dengan menggunakan cloud dan menggunakan AI dari AWS, itu efisien sekali. Alhasil, mahasiswa pun itu sekarang bisa melalui sebuah startup, misalnya di industri kreatif. Jadi AI manfaatnya sangat banyak sekali, efisiensi dan juga produktivitas. Sehingga semua orang bisa memanfaatkan AI ini dengan sangat mudah, sangat murah, dan sangat cepat. Jadi ini yang saya lihat banyak anak muda di sini ya, yang mungkin AI dianggapnya hanya ChatGPT, hanya negatif side, tapi ternyata banyak sekali hal positif yang nanti bisa dampak oleh AI.
Baik, mungkin Bapak bisa memberikan contoh konkret gitu ya, dari AWS atau Amazon Web Services dalam mengaplikasikan teknologi, dan teknologi ini sudah dimanfaatkan untuk memperkuat komunitas atau ekonomi kreatif.
Ya, terima kasih. Jadi kami di AWS kerjasama dengan KNKC Asari di sini dan juga komunitas startup di sini yang ada. Yang kami lakukan adalah mengembangkan komunitas. Jadi komunitas di sini, kemudian startup-startupnya kita masukkan ke dalam startupnya kami, kemudian kami jual dalam kutip solusinya juga ke daerah-daerah lain. Bayangkan kalau seandainya startup ini berjalan sendiri-sendiri tanpa komunitas. Bayangkan kalau seandainya dari AWS mengembangkan komunitas itu dengan teknologi tentunya, kita enhance teknologinya, enhance produknya, dan kita salurkan juga ke konsumen-konsumen lain. Bukan cuma di Malang, tapi juga di luar Malang, seluruh Indonesia. Dan beberapa di antara startup yang sekarang di Indonesia, komunitas itu kami bawa ke marketplace. Jadi kami punya marketplace AWS di seluruh dunia. Bayangkan kalau ada perusahaan dari Jerman menggunakan startup dari Indonesia dengan marketplace. Jadi marketplace itu bayangannya ada startup muncul di marketplace AWS yang mereka tinggal klik, mereka tinggal pakai tanpa pernah ketemu dengan startup itu. Jadi mudah sekali. Nah ini jadi global. Jadi cloud itu bukan cuma sekedar digunakan, tapi juga jadi going global. Ini yang sudah kami lakukan di Malang. Di tempat lain kalau lebih sama. Jadi kami punya komunitas startup yang mungkin sekarang jadi unicorn sekarang itu. Dulunya startup kami masih kecil, kami kembangkan mereka, kami lakukan bisnisnya, sekarang menjadi unicorn yang besar. Dan alhamdulillah mereka terus bersama kami sebagai perusahaan cloud semakin besar penggunaan mereka terhadap cloud AWS.
Oke, luar biasa sekali. Kalau mungkin bisa dibagi sedikit tantangannya apa sebetulnya Pak ketika ingin memperkenalkan teknologi atau AI ini pada masyarakat yang mungkin merasa bahwa tanpa teknologi kita juga bisa berjalan gitu.
Ya betul. Yang pertama ini masalah teknologi akses. Jadi banyak orang-orang yang beranggapan bahwa oh kalau saya butuh teknologi itu saya harus misalnya beli server dulu. Saya beli server dulu, datangkan ahli AI, engineer AI yang mungkin sangat mahal dan seterusnya. Sekarang dengan menggunakan teknologi itu jadi lebih mudah. Bayangkan cloud AWS itu ada di setiap handphone teman-teman semua, tinggal buka, masuk ke sana ada big data analytics, ada artificial intelligence, ada machine learning dan seterusnya. Ini game changer yang tadinya investasi itu sulit, sekarang digital access itu sangat mudah sekali karena semua disediakan oleh cloud. Yang kedua tantangannya digital literasi. Digital literasi itu pemahaman kita tentang teknologi. Mungkin pemahaman kita tentang teknologi tadi AI itu negatif. Jadi berpikirnya negatif aja gitu ya, tanpa saya nggak mau pakai deh. Atau teknologi hanya digunakan untuk sekedar fun. Berapa banyak di sini yang nonton video itu hanya untuk fun gitu ya, tapi nggak ada manfaat produktivitasnya. Nah, digital literasi penting sekali, makanya kami melakukan banyak sekali training, termasuk di kampus-kampus. Jadi kami men-training dosen mempertanyaan mahasiswa supaya mahasiswa ini mengerti dengan teknologi. Ini kedua adalah digital literasi. Yang ketiga, hambatannya kami lihat adalah kemampuan atau confidence untuk mulai sekarang. Wah, saya tunggu dulu nih, saya belum confident nih, nanti aja lihat dulu yang lain. Padahal di negara lain, ketika ada teknologi baru itu muncul, mereka coba duluan. Jadi nggak lihat resikonya dulu, tapi lihat positifnya dulu. Sehingga di sana cepat cobain aja. Ketika sudah dicobain dan ada resiko-resikonya, baru ditanggulangi. Di Indonesia, yang kita lihat, ada resiko, jangan dulu dipakai. Jadi lebih ke arah konservatif ya. Akhirnya memulainya lama. Ketiga ini, menurut hemat kami, ini yang membuat Indonesia menjadi kurang solid. Padahal training sudah banyak. Padahal bila akses menggunakan kapal sangat memudahkan, sifatnya PSOB dan seterusnya. Padahal kalau teman-teman semua bisa mulai dari sekarang, itu jauh lebih cepat proses akselerasi.
Oke, jadi jangan tunggu nanti gitu ya, tapi sekarang kalau bisa langsung aja gitu.
Pulang dari sini langsung.
Oke, nggak mau ketinggalan. Ini pertanyaan terakhir ya Bapak, dan ini sangat penting sekali sebenarnya karena ketika kita mengadakan sesi ICCF workshop waktu itu secara online, banyak sekali yang menanyakan hal ini. Bagaimana sebenarnya cara kita untuk memastikan bahwa teknologi atau si kecerdasan buatan AI ini tidak akan menggantikan peranan seorang manusia kreatif?
Ya, ini juga pertanyaan sangat penting dan sampai sekarang ini masih abu-abu ya. Saya nggak bisa bilang AI tidak bisa menggantikan manusia. Buktinya ada ternyata ya. Tapi mungkin gini, pernah ada teman-teman di sini yang hidup di zamannya internet. Ini yang masih nggak bikin. Di zaman internet orang pada bukan itu. Di zaman internet orang takut, waduh, maaf, kampus nggak laku, gitu ya. Kemudian surat-surat nggak laku, kertas bisa orang takut zaman itu. Ketika ada internet, yang negatifnya bisa kita tanggulangi, yang kerjaan belum ada menjadi ada, justru malah produk adanya internet. Jadi AI ini sama dengan teknologi yang sebelumnya udah ada, artinya emerging teknologi baru pasti ada positif dan negatif. Tapi untungnya kita manusia dikasih kemampuan beradaptasi. Jadi apapun bencananya, apapun teknologi pasti diberikan kemampuan untuk beradaptasi. Jadi kalau bisa dibilang AI pasti ada dua sisi, terkait kemampuan manusia untuk beradaptasi, saya yakin itu lebih baik. Nah, sekarang gimana caranya supaya AI memperkecil chance kita untuk di replace? Yang pertama adalah teman-teman harus mulai melihat dirinya sendiri. Jangan sampai melakukan hal-hal yang repeatable atau nggak pakai emosional, itu jangan sampai. Karena AI pasti akan bisa menggantikan sesuatu yang bisa repeatable. Jadi yang tidak bisa dilakukan oleh AI adalah emosionalnya, konteksnya, kreativitas yang lebih dari itu semua. Saya ambil contoh tadi misalnya AI suruh menggambar bukan terbang, dia pasti bisa menggambar itu. Tapi kalau teman-teman hanya sebatas itu digantikan sama AI, selesai, nggak ada lagi manfaat. Tapi dengan AI mengeluarkan kata itu, terus teman-teman mengenhance dengan emosional, dengan konteks dan seterusnya, AI nggak mungkin bisa sampai segitu. Karena di kami memprogram AI itu nggak se-advance itu. Jadi ada batasan-batasannya. Nah, batasan inilah yang harusnya manusia melakukan lebih dari itu. Jadi mulai sekarang shifting dari sesuatu yang repeatable, yang manual, yang tidak pakai kreativitas, tidak pakai emosional, menjadi sesuatu yang lebih advance supaya nggak terkalahkan dengan AI. Insya Allah kalau kayak gitu lebih eksis, dan jangan lupa selalu up to date sama ilmunya. Jadi jangan merasa aman, jangan merasa udah stable. Suatu saat teknologi akan berkembang dan kita harus lebih advance dari teknologi itu sendiri.
Baik, terima kasih. Berarti kita masih punya peluang ini karena kita akan bisa jadi lebih pintar gitu ya, tertantang dengan adanya AI. Terima kasih Pak Yohan. Nanti kita akan kembali lagi mungkin ke Bapak jika ada waktu. Tapi saya akan bergeser sekarang ke Ibu Tita, Tita atau Mbak Tita. Do you speak English or Indonesian? Oke, mic-nya mungkin bisa yang itu? Oh, oke. Atau bahasa Jawa, Mbak Tita? Oh, monggo. Oke. Mbak Tita ini adalah seorang akademisi dan juga leading figure in ICCN dan juga ICCA. Jadi sudah berkecimpung banyak sekali dalam ekosistem kreatif di Indonesia, begitu. Mungkin kita akan ngobrol tentang ICCA lebih dalam ya.
Mbak Tirta. ICCA adalah Indonesia Creative City Academy. How do you see the role of ICCA in addressing the growing need for young skilled talents in creative economy, especially in connection with initiatives like the Singosari Digital Creative Economy Zone? Jadi peranannya itu gimana Mbak dalam nurturing young Indonesian creative people?
Yeah, so Renzi mentioned that we should go a bit deeper about ICCA, but we cannot go much deeper because this is just the beginning. So there is this idea. If you look back into what we need in developing a region, a city, but using creativity and creative thinking, even design thinking to develop the area. So maybe it's easier if I use an example because in Bandung, I didn't grow up in Bandung, but I then studied in Bandung and I stayed there. And then we and our community friends, we realized that we should contribute to the city development, but we cannot rely on the government only because they need a kind of steps, bureaucracy to make things happen. So in order to make things happen faster, we cannot just wait. What we did was making intervention to public spaces, to services and so on, using the design thinking method, which means we should build prototypes and so on, so all stakeholders can identify or map what their goals are. So that happens. So we didn't know yet that this was term called design thinking, but then it was later called design thinking, and that's what we did in Bandung. So starting 2013, we have this yearly workshop of design thinking. We call it design action, with the mindset that we should actually act before we think. And this workshop consists of about 300 participants usually, and a quarter of them should come from the government with authorities to budget and programs. So as design thinking goes, nobody is boss, so they're all equal, and you end up with prototypes as results. And this is where bureaucracy and creativity meet, because without this kind of workshop, the government would only do things as they are used to, with the same methods on and on. So with this, then we have been doing it for more than 10 years, because now it's 2025, so we started in 2018. So I am, as a lecturer in ITB, and also researcher, I teach design thinking and so on, and now I'm heading the Master in Design program. So we now open a new division of master program. It's called Design Leadership. So you can come from any bachelor background, you can join this course, but the requirement is you have to have a real project. So not only thesis, theory or anything, but real project that you can implement with creativity and design approaches. So this is where ICCA comes in mind, because at ICCN, the Indonesian Creative Cities Network, we also think in line. So we need a kind of same language where creativity can mean policy, can mean real development and so on. Not only developing an area, but also your capacity as a creative person, and also other stakeholders within the ecosystem. So that's why in ITB we started with design leadership. Now it's we have already 3 cohorts. We have only 1 cohort alumni, but this is where we try to navigate how creativity can be taught in developing a city. So therefore, then we thought, okay, because ITB is a really huge institution, you cannot just change things quickly. So when we see this opportunity in ICCN, we have lots of task forces, and one of them is certification, standards, and so on. Because when you say you are creative, but you need a kind of standard to be able to get in the mainstream of creativity, then you get some certifications and so on. But if you go to a professional school or to a formal school, then the lesson, you don't always get it easy. So that's why we see the Indonesia Literacy Academy as to accommodate these kind of needs. I hope it's not clear enough because then you may have to discuss it more.
Okay, yeah, so it seems exciting. Yeah? So the way we nurture this young creative minds. The next question is probably about giving a more elaborate ideas on how ICCA will later work with creative cities and also global partners. It's probably too early to think about that, but I don't know, maybe you already have this vision in mind, so
Yeah, this is just an idea. So I would like to take this school as a comparison. So this school is a school of design thinking, but it's not a school in itself because there is a program in the university. This school of design thinking, but they accept people from different kind of bachelor degrees. So, for example, you can take I don't know, literature, you can take chemistry and so on. But you can go there in the school for 1 year and then do the design thinking there for the whole year. And then after you're done, you go back to your respective campuses and graduate as dentist, as chemist, or whatever. So you get a certificate of design thinking. So we're thinking of this kind of things, short courses, but actually giving you real cases and real capability to contribute to your city. So we hope that we don't only get professionals, but also we can get some musical staff, young government employers to also learn how to make changes.
yeah, okay. So maybe last question is, I don't know, how do you think this will change the ecosystem of creative economy as a whole, having this kind of school?
Creative economy is also going to a shift. Creativity as well. So, not long ago, Bandung hosted the Green Cities of Design Subnational meeting, but in the form of a small symposium. So one of them is Professor Andrew Kraft, and he was delivering these thoughts about the shift of creative economy and creativity. So creative economy is no longer about the creative sector itself, but it's about how the sector contribute to other sectors. So how would creative economy, for example, contribute to agriculture or to infrastructure, hard infrastructure, and so on. So creativity also shifted. Before, we know creativity as associated with a lot of festivals or with really cool city brandings and merchandises, but it's no longer like that because the creativity 2.0 is more about how a city collaborate with other cities when they know their superior ability compared to the other city, so they can work together and form a more solid ecosystem for special commodity or other intervention.
Okay, thank you. Talking with you is always so inspiring. It's really inspiring us, and we are so happy and excited with all of this planning. It seems that Indonesia has such a bright, creative future in your hands. Okay. All right, thank you, Davida. Now we are going to invite Mr. Paulo Mercado. Are you here already? Yes, you're here. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, what time is it in the Philippines? Maybe you need to speak a little louder.
6 p.m.
Oh, 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, as I mentioned before, Mr. Paulo Mercado is the founder and president of the Creative Economy Council of the Philippines. Thank you for being here. You've been at the forefront of developing the creative economy in your country, in the Philippines. So now, we're curious, from your perspective, how can Southeast Asia build a stronger, more connected creative market in this era of AI and digital technologies?
Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for inviting me here. Thank you to Tita for reaching out and inviting me. I've known Tita now since 2017 during the ASEAN Creative Cities Conference that was held here in the Philippines back then. It's a very interesting and very complex question. Let me talk about it first in terms of the impact of AI on Philippine creative industries, which I'm sure is very similar to what is being experienced by many countries, including Indonesia. I would say first that the important nature of Philippine creative industries is largely service. You know, service is a big part. While we still have our furniture, fashion design, or creative goods export, actually, in terms of the Philippine export, not only in creativity, but in our total economy, our economy is highly dependent on the service industry export. We have very large business process outsourcing companies based in the Philippines doing service work for the US or for the UK, mainly English-speaking countries, but a few European countries as well. In the creative industry, many of these do work also in the advertising sector as well as in animation and game development. So these are sectors, large businesses in the Philippines that primarily do work for the likes of Disney, Cartoon Network, etc., and even with the Japanese firms. There is definitely an impact of AI that is being felt in some cases quite painfully by these creative industries at the moment. There are, let's say, a lot of, in the advertising and marketing sector, there are jobs that are just requiring, for example, the adaptation of original creatives that were actually created outside the Philippines. And what we do is do all the version adaptations for the different markets, and that is being automated, you know, so there are less and less people doing that work. Or there are, where the adaptation is now being automated, so the kind of volume work for business process outsourcing is being impacted. I don't have the specific numbers here. When it comes to both animation and game development, both groups have actually reached out to me and said that, you know, can you help us with a pivot strategy? You know, because what the Philippines will do for animation, for example, would be things like not the full story development, definitely, but more of, okay, so here's the story, how do you animate the background, or how do you create versions of the character? And those are the tasks being automated now. On game development, we focus on three things. One, the creation of three-dimensional objects, the creation of worlds in the games, and things like motion capture cleanup was a major part of what we do. And game services. This is more with the network games, where people are playing live and say, oh, my character is not working, etc. What can I do of that? And all of those services are being impacted. That said, I've seen also major opportunities and new applications in the different industries, where, you know, for the first time, for example, there is a solo creative director who quit his advertising agency job and set up his own solo AI ad agency, and he's actually doing well. The ideas will come from him, and he uses AI as his junior creatives, and then he comes out with very fast work for his clients. I've seen also examples of the bigger ad agencies. I came from the ad agency world with Ogilvy Group, on really leveraging it to optimize the ideas that are still human, but then enhancing it with the use of AI. So I would first start with that there is going to be disruption, especially if you are in the lower funnel adaptation work, or you create out of, I would say copy work or copycatting work. That one is going to be optimized. But if you are very sharp in knowing how to use these tools and if you are still the original and innovator, then there is an opportunity to actually use AI to amplify yourself. Now, to try to then link that to what's the impact and opportunity for ASEAN, I think for all of us in Southeast Asia, for all of us it's quite early to tell, but definitely greater collaboration is needed and greater consciousness of where are we where does each country have its own creative excellence, its own, let's say, its own creative genius, and how can that creative genius be shared across ASEAN or Southeast Asia, because in ASEAN in the form of them. Maybe one more point, and then I'll pause. The interesting term we use, Renzi, is creative markets. The Philippines, when you take a look at Southeast Asia, most of us are actually domestic creative economies. The Philippines is very domestic, Indonesia as well, very domestic, but our creators create primarily for our own markets. And then while we do have the creative services export, it's not the majority. The majority is still the local economies. And it's the same for Thailand, Indonesia. The only one that is predominantly quote-unquote export is Singapore, because they're more of a regional hub. So it's created there, and then it's actually created for the purposes of spreading out in the region. I think the first consciousness that we need to have and explore is how can there be a more common Southeast Asia creative market? I actually did a little bit of research, and then here, like for example, how much of Philippine content is actually consumed or exported or shared with Indonesian audiences, and vice versa. And what I saw is that it's very little, and it's the same across Southeast Asia, perhaps only with one exception, which is Malaysia exporting, quite a significant amount of animation created in Malaysia, but consumed quite heavily in Indonesia. And I think even before we talk about the AI opportunities and the digital technologies opportunities, you need to see first where are the areas where each country has its own creative genius, and then how can we start to open up our respective market, in what way can there be more interest for Indonesian content in the Philippines, for Philippine content in Indonesia, and so on and so forth. Sorry, that's a very long answer.
Thank you.
To that. It's quite a rich question.
Yeah, thank you so much. So it's the key, I guess, is to have a wider market for all the countries in Southeast Asia. Okay, so I guess time will only allow us to have one more follow-up question for you. So this is something that is related to what we have discussed with Tita previously. So I would like to know your perspective on the role of maybe creative education and training and how they can evolve by the use of AI and also technology to better prepare the next generation of creative professionals.
Yeah, I do think it's very important for the young generation to learn the next generation of creative tools that are AI enabled, but at the same time there has to be a very clear emphasis on how we become original, at this point. So my friend who's the CEO of EDWA in the Philippines said that the big opportunity for AI is that it actually takes out the what we call the drudgery of creativity. It can do that, meaning that I used to remember when I worked in ABC, the all-nighters that people would in actually creating, crafting, and sometimes by hand or even by computer, cleaning up images, etc. That takes a lot of time. And the beauty of AI is that it takes a lot of work. But it's very important that the skills of the young students are not built on the old generation process of creativity, which is just on that type of manual work, but on the higher scale of creativity of how do you become original, how do you learn from your mistakes, but then how do you develop something fresh and new, and then also after you develop something fresh and new, how do you use AI to multiply it, but at the same time, how do you protect your own intellectual property, by making sure you register it in some way, some sort of register. One of the conversations that we're having is how do you make blockchain work for the independent creatives, that when they create something that it immediately blockchain is protected, so that if it is adapted by somebody else, that there's traceability. So these skills are going to become much more essential, even at the younger, even at the pre-university or even technical education, and even, let's say, the high school level. The kids will be really
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives. I think today's discussion highlights one key message, that technology, creativity, and collaboration, as well as education, must go hand in hand to build a more inclusive, innovative, and globally connected creative economy. Teknologi, kreativitas, kolaborasi, dan pendidikan itu bisa bersatu dalam membentuk ekonomi kreatif yang terhubung dan ada banyak peluang di dalamnya. Kalau mengutip Pak Yopan tadi, don't wait gitu ya, jangan menunggu, tapi kita bisa sekarang. Terima kasih semuanya. Thank you everyone for joining us, and let's continue building bridges between creativity, technology, and humanity. And to our speakers, Dr. Yopan, Dr. Tita, and also Paulo, all the way in the Philippines, thank you for sharing your perspectives and inspiration. So let's give them a big applause. Mari kita beri tepuk tangan yang meriah untuk mereka bertiga. Terima kasih. Dan sekian panel kami.
Baik, terima kasih Bu Nurenzia. Dipersilakan untuk bisa memberikan citra mata kepada dua pembicara yang hadir secara offline kali ini. Yang secara online nanti kita kirimkan begitu ya. Baik, kita cuma terima kasih sekali lagi untuk ketiga pembicara kali ini dari Amazon Web Service dan juga dari ICCA dan juga dari Volunteer.
Dan hari ini saat ini kita sedang menyaksikan penyerahan cindera mata kepada pembicara onsite yang hadir. Kolaborasi tanpa henti yang senantiasa akan bergerak maju menuju titik yang lebih baik. Hadirin, boleh kita kembali dengan tepuk tangan yang hangat di sesi panel discussion terakhir ini.